I'm looking at July. Okay, so you were there. All right, any other comments for the agenda, or for the minutes from 6/16/25? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the 6/16/25 minutes with that change?
I move to accept the minutes with that change for June 16th, 2025.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, now we go on to 7/21/25, Parks Commission minutes of meeting. Are there comments? Hearing no comments, I need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the 7/21/25 Park Commission minutes.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Please pass on again that we would appreciate quicker turnaround on the minutes. I made the comment before. Public comment, there's none right this second. We're going to talk about Ridge, and Tony's going to talk at the end.
I think we have one more set of minutes.
One more
don't we?
minutes, August minutes.
Yep.
August didn't come in my packet.
Oh,
Oh, no, you're right, never mind.
Yep. Well, that was the nature of my comment.
Oh.
They're lagging about a month behind.
I have it in my packet.
I have it in mind.
Yeah, it's on our packet.
Yeah, August 23rd Parks Commission meeting minutes were part of
Yeah, I didn't get it either, so maybe it depended when you looked at the packet.
must have.
I must have.
Must have.
Then we'll still defer it.
We could read it over now.
Got extra copies? I wasn't there, but
It's right up on your screen.
you need to read it because you were here.
I was here.
You good? Everybody read it?
What I can see.
Second page there.
Is there more? Yeah.
Yes.
Who's, second page?
Yep, we
Whoever's
got it.
controlling it, you
We
got it?
Yeah.
Any comments? All right, can I get a motion to approve those 8?
I'll make a
August.
motion to approve the minutes from August 18th.
I'll second that.
All in favor of the minutes, approving the minutes?
Aye.
Signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, no one here is from public comment, and we're moving up, so Ridge.
Chair and Commissioners, as part of the 2025 work plan, the concept design was developed for Ridge Park with the goal of transforming the existing neighborhood park into a more vibrant community park in correspondence with other park districts. The key driver of these concepts is a planned playground replacement that we have scheduled in 2026. That's initially why we kind of started developing that. Our current playground does sit in a low spot where it does accumulate water in the spring and naturally is very wet throughout the summer. So we really wanted to gear this towards a design where we could place that playground somewhere initially first, and then as the future goes on, then we can add to that and everything would make sense. So with this concept, again, this concept is a kind of a planning or design ahead of the schedule, right? To take a look at is like, do these items meet where they're at? And how do we lay these out as the future, as we go forward in the future? So, we did conduct a survey. The survey was conducted with 3 communities, Torrey Pines, Ridge Park, as well as Parkview Estates. We conducted a survey, a mailed survey to the residents. They could also complete that survey online. It consisted of about 6 to 7 questions, mainly in regards to their use of that park, and any information they wanted to provide us as well in regards to making this concept geared towards those users that most frequently use that park right now. So the issue before us tonight is what concept plan would the Parks Commission like to see implemented, and do they have any suggestions or changes they'd like to make to the concept to Bolton and Mink? Again, Bolton and Mink has developed 2 separate concept plans for Ridge Park. Each was informed with feedback collected through the community survey and targeted the residents as previously noted. So as we look through these, we can go through these concept plans. So concept plan A, I can zoom in here a little bit, but just wanted you to see the kind of the scale here first. It did include some, I'm gonna back up here. Let's talk about the survey. So we had these questions of the survey. Again, the ones, this is taken directly from the online survey, so I did want you to understand that we did have additional 10 that did mail in their survey. So as we go through that, I'll just kind of make note of those as well here. So the first question is, how often did you visit Ridge Park? We had 33 respondents to that, and nearly 40% of those responded. Our highest was that 1 to 2 times per week. Our second question was, what activities do you do when you visited the park? We had a majority of those, the most common activity that we got following that was walking, right? Walking with either your kids, the dogs, or just using that area to just exercise and use the trails that's there with the green space. The third question, would you like to see the playset updated or removed? 80% of the respondents were in favor of having that playground updated. Question number 4 was, would you like to see the ball field updated or removed? So again, a majority of those surveyed were in favor of updating the ball field. 57% of the online respondents were in favor, along with 4 additional written ballots that favored those updates. I'm gonna go skip to number 6 just because of how it's written there. The next one was, should a pavilion or shade structure be constructed in the park? 16 responses voted in favor of the pavilion being installed in that park. So no additional changes with that from our written responses. And question number 5 is, what other amenities would you like to see in that park? While many of those surveyed responded with none, additional comments including adding some type of hard surface court, which may include like a basketball court, tennis, or a pickleball court. So again, that was just kind of, it does add something else to the park besides just your open space with a playground and ball field. But just they're looking for something. I think your respondents are looking for something additional there to do, right? If they're coming there. Now let's look at our concepts. So Bolton Mint put together 2 concepts for us. The first concept does include hard surface court, the playground, as well as improving that ball field. Does incorporate some youth soccer fields that would include, in general aspect would be one large soccer field if going east and west. those smaller ones going north and south, if you were to incorporate that in there. So it does include some of the major items that we do have in our Parks Master Plan as well. I'm just gonna zoom in here quick. Where we talk about signage and wayfinding, those things as well are included in this as like number 7 as our entrances in there. So they did incorporate an asphalt trail, mainly throughout just the general concept of that, or general entrance of that area, leaving the far south side of that to the nature side of it, right? So they included a gravel trail as well as a mowed nature trail which are all currently there as well. So they're just adding those as maybe a little more feature, more dynamic of direction of where those are actually at. Concept of this one does include an access off of Inwood Avenue. That might be that'd be a lot of correspondence or connections with the county to make that happen. As we see the community grow, especially to the south, near the water tower, with plans there forthcoming before probably 2030, you will see, likely some changes to Inwood Avenue as well. So, which may include a trail along one side or another to connect that south quadrant to the future north, which include Parkview Estates, Torrey Pines, an additional development to the west there as well. So potentially some future trail connections there as well. So going back to that turn lane that they would have to provide there could get pretty costly for the city in order to do so. Moving on to, we'll just move on to concept, second concept. Then we'll kind of walk through some differences on this. So again, the second concept does incorporate more parking interior. Both accesses are interior, so again, turn lanes would have to go right into Parkview Estates off of Ivory, into there to access that. Probably a little more soothing for users versus trying to get directional right in there. Might be a little bit more difficult exiting there, and trying to go back to the south might be a concern for users trying to get out of that area. So, but again, does it still incorporate an asphalt trail? A little bit bigger in this concept, as it goes all the way around your ball field, soccer fields, and your playground set to connect right back to that parking lot. Again, it does include those limestone paths as well as those mowed paths over in those nature areas. Again, in this area, since we do not have sewer down there, portable restrooms would remain until we had future sewer down there. We do have a water tie connection into there, so potentially a future of some type of, if you were to do a pavilion there, some type of restroom or something could possibly be a future aspect there, so. Again, this concept does include a little bit bigger parking area, about 50 to 70 cars, I believe it was, or sorry, 60 to 70 cars in that area, so. So just a few comparisons, again, concept A versus B. Full court basketball court, or full court, basketball at each concept. Potential striping for some pickleball there. Again, as we've had discussions in the past, where this is currently located is less than our parks recommendation plan of 600 feet from any home. Our closest home would be directly across or less than 200 feet from that. So that would be a concern for staff, as well as it should be for the commissioners to address with the community potentially before something like that would happen. Updated ball field with in concept B and A both have a asphalt trail connection to it. I think that's something to consider as far as ADA compliance, to get people access to the playground as well as the ball field for those amenities that we use. Like I said before, with the water that is there, we would need to incorporate some stormwater catch base or some basins to retrieve that. So if we do any excavating in those areas, those types of plans would need to be taken into consideration to hold that water and, appropriately within the site. So I think in the previous designs, we did see that where that playground currently sits, we know that there's gonna be some low land there and there's gonna be some water there as well, so. With that, I'll take any questions or, maybe some ideas that I can pass along to the designer for, either on concept A or B, but we are looking for direction on which one to talk with our designer with to make kind of more of a, updating any ideas that you guys have or final plans.
Would you like to get the public comment now or later?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, Mr. Wortman or Mr. Snyder, either one of you want to go first?
Rock, paper, scissors.
In general, our rules are that we limit people to 6 minutes. We'll flex on that tonight, but if I start going like this, so introduce yourself and where you live.
Stephen Wortman, live at 1668 Ivory Avenue North, and I definitely won't use 6 minutes. Just seeing the designs today actually brought up a lot of discussion. We did see the survey beforehand, did not fulfill or supply feedback to that, so I'll leave that up to the side. Looking at the designs, a couple of things came out to my wife and I right away, where the pickleballs is a very big concern from the noise standpoint. Like was stated, the Park Commission recommends 600 feet. There was an article in the Fox News 9 article about the noise variances on that happening. And both of these are well within that 600, not just the 200 person that's across the street, but for all the property owners who are in the backside of the ball field, it's all under 600 feet. So everybody around that park would be within that 600 feet. On concept A, the entrance coming off of Inwood would not work. If you've ever tried to leave that neighborhood, Inwood is a very busy street. I know there's a stoplight supposedly going in on 15th Avenue, but right now, it's hard enough to leave that area, and if you had a second entrance in there, that would just be a nightmare. The paving part is fine. The usage of the fields doesn't justify it. I know if you added more parking spots, maybe people would come. But the way you have the ball fields lined up and all that, it wouldn't make sense for the paving of the parking around. I know there's ADA rules, so ADA to the pavilion or the new playground would be a benefit, but I think around the ball fields would be a waste of taxpayer money. And then lastly, on the ball fields, my property lines up with the first base line. I took care of the fields before the city did, back in the early 2000s, and both my son and daughter with softball and baseball played. With the current fielding right now, the kids can hit the balls into people's yards. You're moving this ball field even closer to the houses. So going down the first base line and even center field, they will be hitting balls into neighbors' backyards for sure, and there's some kids that will hit the houses. So I would totally be against that ball field. As an experienced coach and having kids play there, that is gonna become a hazard if you move the ball field back close. And then lastly, the whole organization of the field. When my kids were playing, it was always Oakdale Athletics that used that field for practice, never games, but always practices. It was a nightmare to schedule that. I worked with the city and Oakdale to try to figure out who could have it, because it was becoming first come, first serve. And that's something you'll have to think about if you do expand this to that level. Those are my comments, but I really appreciate your time on that, and thank you for taking the input.
Appreciate the input. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Snyder.
Am I supposed to talk to the microphone or?
Talk as you want. Just
Okay.
introduce yourself and where you
Yes,
live.
I'm sorry, I'm Bert Snyder, and I live with my wife. It looks like just a few feet away from the 3 soccer fields you want to put in there. I think everybody who lives in this particular area lives there for a reason, and part of it is privacy, part of it is the serenity of living there. We didn't want to necessarily be in a hubbub. So I would have to say a number of us are probably used to a little more serene, quiet things. So this is kind of daunting to see what you have planned. And I appreciate everything that's been done. This took quite a bit of work. I don't know when the last time you were to Ridge Park. There'd be no reason to go to Ridge Park, to be honest, because, you know, you had a ball field with no place to sit, just a backboard and just a little bit of dirt to play on. And I played there with my granddaughters a number of times. The playground equipment, they've got a little big for it, but I can tell you, most days, most springs, and a lot of times falls, it was so wet and muddy and full of water there, you couldn't use it. So I'm surprised anybody said that they used the park a lot. And since I'm home with my wife every day, all day long, I never saw that many people out there. One thing that I don't think is accounted for here is that I think it's a real concern of us is the noise. We talked about pickleball. I mean, there's been all sorts of articles and everything. I understand that Washington County has had problems with pickleball areas. They drop them into areas and then there's constant complaints about the noise and so on. And so I did a little bit of research, and Washington County now has about 80 to 81 public pickleball courts. I'm not sure why putting another one in our area would, you know, move the needle at all, but that might allay some people's, at least their fear. The acoustics of this park is kind of interesting. I don't hear well. I wear hearing aids, and I don't hear well. I can tell you when the sandhill cranes are in there, it sounds like they're standing at my back door. And I realize that they're loud. I can hear kids when they're on the playground equipment swinging. I can hear the squeak of the spring. So when I see you're going to bring 70 to 100 people every Saturday, every Sunday during the week to play soccer and cheer and move on all summer, all spring, maybe all fall, that seems kind of daunting to me. Now, I realize it's your land and you've got to do something, but if you really would look at the park, if I just drove through today on the way here and I looked at it, it's not, the schematic makes it look like it's this gigantic, huge area across there. It's about as wide as our neighborhood lots are. It's like having another neighborhood behind you. It's not like it's half a mile to a mile across there. It's a pretty narrow thing. It's a little bit longer, but you're not going to use that space. Everything's going to be jammed up towards us. So. Pickleball's a problem, the noise is a problem, what's brought up is the traffic. It's almost dangerous to get out of our neighborhood, to go across Inwood. We thought when it was done and some of the other roads and constructions were done, it would die down. It doesn't seem to die down, and it doesn't seem like it's just at night anymore. It can be on Saturdays, Sundays, any days. You've got to wait, and then all of a sudden you've got to jump in front of somebody else. Well, they might put one light in. I doubt if they're going to put 3 lights in. Our concern is that you put 70, 80, 100 people coming in and out of there, they're not going to want to turn left to go into Inwood. They'll go through our neighborhood. People now are concerned about having the Amazon people delivering things in their neighborhood. I think they're going to go ballistic about having all of these people running through the neighborhood. So I appreciate what's being done, and I really appreciate the work that's being done. As far as the people who did the questionnaire, if they could see this concept, I think that would give them a clear idea of what we're facing. If you ask me, well, would I like to have, a few things newer? Well, yeah, I would. But if they say, but it's going to come with this price tag in terms of privacy, sound, and congestion, and these kinds of things, do we really want it? And so that was my concerns, and I wanted to thank you all. I know what it's like to serve on these kind of councils and boards. It's a very thankless job. Thank you for all you do, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, any questions? Even if you want to ask a question, go ahead, but you got a question, go ahead. Or did you want to talk? Come on up. I normally say come on down, but
Do you want this?
Yes, please. All right, introduce yourself, Mr. Bandy.
So my name is Eric Bandy. I'm at 1694 Ivory Avenue North. Actually a recent resident of Lake Elmo, moved a little under 2 years ago from Shoreview. You've heard a lot tonight already from everybody on the noise. And that is something I think you're going to hear as a common theme. I'm not going to cover what was already said. I thought it was stated very well. Just wanted to add a couple more things. One, you're obviously probably aware, there's another development, sounds like two more developments coming in. Inwood is incredibly busy, and the amount of traffic is a constant noise. Two, we can hear the gun club from our property. So there's already a constant pop, 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 pop. And it depends on the weather as far as the temperature, as sound travels, but it's a pretty regular, some of our neighbors are here, it's a pretty regular occurrence. So there is already a heightened level of sound sensitivity, just due to, as the park sits today, with the traffic, you can even hear 94 sometimes, and with the gun club. So adding anything that would add to that noise floor just starts to degrade the overall experience of living in the neighborhood. The other thing I'd mention, and while I appreciate the thoroughness, the thoughtfulness, and the survey, it is a low sample size. If it would actually be pretty beneficial to get a slightly larger sample size to make sure it's a good representation of those that actually use it. I was the first one, when you read the comments, I was the first one. I'm out there almost daily with my dog, throwing the Frisbee. We use the park. I do see people out there. It is a park that warrants being updated and something to be done with. I don't think there's much debate on that. I think the question is how to balance the needs of the community with the issue of additional noise, and then the traffic issue, because there is only one through street, and it would add a lot, and it's curvy, and all of us, if we're not walking in the park, we're walking on the street with our dogs, and it's pretty common to see people out and about walking, and so if people end up having to drive through the neighborhood because they can't get out the other way, it starts to add a tremendous toll on the overall neighborhood and feel. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, back, commissioners, did you have any comments, questions? So there's no place you could put a pickleball court, right? You're saying, right? Nowhere in that entire area that meets that requirement. That's what I heard.
I think we did do some measuring when we were having the discussion of
You know, like on the corner over there.
yeah, I mean, you'd be definitely directly right next to the road here, somewhere, probably out in here, maybe in here.
Okay.
It was very,
Chair, do you mind if I respond to that?
Yeah.
I was on the GIS thing today doing measurements. There are spots for it, but I'm not sure why we're talking about it since it's not on the plan. But there are spots that's within, outside of 600.
I was purely
600 feet.
asking because there were a lot of people who said pickleball. Okay,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. I have a list. One,
4.
yeah. I don't have all the data, so there's 4 or 5.
Out of the 32 that responded?
Out of the people who wrote comments. Yeah. And we know it's a small sample size, yeah.
Do we know which subdivision those people would have been in? Because I think the Torrey Pines would probably
No.
be all for it.
We don't know.
They don't have to be next to it.
Right, right.
Adam, we don't have that in the plan, right? Am I missing something? Do we have pickleball?
no, they do, in the one, they do said that it may line it for potential pickleball.
They talked about lining it for.
That'd be it, otherwise it'd be basketball.
What, sorry, lining what?
Lining the asphalt of the court so that you could bring in a portable net
Oh, at the basketball court?
on the basketball court. Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha, I missed that. Thank you.
So I have a question on the pavilion. So it sounded like there was kind of mixed responses on that, whether they wanted one or not. Is that right?
Yep. And some of that might come with, your judgment of what a pavilion is versus
Right.
the next one.
Right.
So, we know that our carriage station pavilion is a lot different than what we might have at, Goose Lake or something like that, right?
Right.
So it all depends on like what your perception of what a pavilion may be like. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I had one question about the pavilion and a very related and similar question about the ball field. I guess my question is, were the contractors able to see the survey results before this? Because when I see the survey results, I would, think it'd be nice to see an option maybe without a pavilion and also without a ball field, because those ones did have the really mixed responses. And if not, is there the opportunity to, how long are we able to discuss this in like a back and forth before you are going to need some type of recommendation?
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, they were provided the information, the survey results, before they made the concepts.
Okay,
So, if you were to say, hey, let's proceed with, this concept, with options with and without, they'd be more than happy to probably do that. They're looking
Okay.
for, which one do we wanna proceed with, and what are the things that you'd like to see changed in those things? And again, I just wanna reference is that, whether we pick, either concept, this is the future outlook of what that park could be. I could show you pictures of what the future outlook of Tablin could be when we did the concept plan for that, and none of that's there. I mean, we had, no, the ball field's there, correct, and our tennis court's there, right? But where the swing set is, was supposed to be a large basketball court that, and now holds swing set, right? So, the playground wasn't even down below, and that was put down there. So, there was a large picnic area in there too. So, I just wanna reiterate, the concept plan is kinda just a, if we do it in phases, or we come back and look at it in 2 years and put items in our CIP to make this a future plan, and that's kind of what we're looking for. Our biggest item right now is that playground. Where does where do either one of these concepts look for a good placement for that playground, so that we can build around that?
Sure.
I think currently between concept A and concept B, I think concept A is a little bit better, not only because the parking lot entices people to travel through Inwood and not travel through the neighborhood in Ivory, but also the since not many people want a pavilion, if we have it closer and everything's more like together, it creates more of a community sense. The only thing I question is, do you think one water basin would be enough?
Water basin?
The
Collection.
Yeah, the stormwater basin collection. Do you think
Yeah, that would definitely be an engineering standpoint, where, this is just a concept. So they would come and actually survey the area as far as, how much water they're actually collecting off of impervious surfaces, and then say, hey, this is where we need to collect that, things like that. Adding asphalt in there does create additional stormwater retention ponds. So, when you do make a parking lot like that, the water runoff needs to go somewhere. So the corners of those parking lots are likely gonna proceed into a storm or catch basin at the end of those, which aren't shown on either diagram.
Other comments, questions,
Yeah,
ideas?
Adam, is the field, is anything there currently programmed?
No.
So, okay, so we don't have any organized groups using
Yeah,
either,
so they may use it, but it's not reservable, so we wouldn't know,
Okay.
like, the history of, organizations reserving it.
and did we look at kind of just the demographics of the area? I guess kind of what are the demographics now and what do we anticipate? I know there was a comment about, younger families coming in. As we think about, what should be in there, what should not be in there.
Yeah, so, some of the, when you start looking at county data and where those demographics are, you're looking at more of the community again, so, younger families, things like that. So it doesn't actually get right down to what these 3 developments have initially, per se. So that was not taken into account for this survey, just so.
Okay, and then just kind of my last, I guess right now I struggle with, kind of to Ellen's point, obviously we have a city council that mentioned looking at other things in parks that aren't traditional. And I think a playground would be needed, and that would have to be strategically put if you're gonna do it in phases, but I struggle with some of the other components that are on the plan right now. And I don't know if there's any other amenities that could go in there that would, work for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But I'm struggling with, I guess, the ball field and the soccer fields a little bit.
Question on the ball field, is that, you said it was youth, is that a competitive youth ball field, the way it's measured out? Or, I mean, is different than a recreational, what we would term a recreational league, which is, or not league, but park, that's at Cleiss, for example.
So it just quick discussion with the representative from Bolton Mink. This would be more set up, kind of like your REIT park, right? So it would have a backstop with some placement for seating, right? Wouldn't be covered or anything like that. So just to update it, you know, would it be used for it would be itemized down for our smaller youth to use and not competitively. I would say like a number of games there, but.
Are you able to speak to the citizens' concern about the balls going towards houses and yards? Is that,
Based off these concepts, I can't just because of, you know, distances or where this is actually placed, you know, but to his concern, you know, definitely. I mean, where the one is located now, I can see exactly what he's referring to. This one is turned a little bit, but based off like just demographics of where this is at, I'm assuming you may, or you could have the same outcome.
okay. And I guess the add-on question to that is, if we didn't do a ball field at all, is there a need for a parking lot at all? It kind of anticipate that the reason that that parking lot is there is because you're going to have organized ball going on there.
Yeah, good point. I mean, you know, it's for it's for all amenities, right? So
Right.
it's, whether it's soccer or, you know, if you look at more of the Frisbee golf in that area, or, you know, you just look at it, you know, as an area for nature walking. We have improved that lot a little bit in the last year, and mainly just because of the construction that was in that area. But I think, you know, generally now you see cars there probably in midday and things like that, more taking lunch than probably actually utilizing the park.
Yeah, I think the main thing you'd be talking about is size of the parking. I think, you know, just having a dirt road or whatever is not space is not great, but I think the main thing you're talking about is whatever amenities, you gotta size it for the amenities.
Yeah.
So if you don't have
Right.
many amenities, it's gonna be
Yeah, so if you
smaller.
kind of look at our concept like up in DeMontreal, right? So that does have a curved parking lot, similar to Concept B. Probably 10 to 12 parking spots in there, has a ball field, has a playground, and probably definitely suitable for that area.
So, a couple sort of questions, thoughts, but again, like with the sports complex coming, then I also question the field, the need for the fields. And then kind of to what everyone else is saying, what other opportunities could there be? I know it was identified like a fitness type equipment or whatever however that was defined, a fitness park, whether that could be used in that space or not without the fields. And then with all the walking, you know, I mean, when I looked at it, I liked the trail, the additional trail with Concept B, I mean, just for the walking. But again, depending on what you put in that space, if there is something else identified where the fields are, then that Concept B with the additional asphalt trail could make sense for that.
Yeah, just kind of continuing off of that train of thought, I have many of the same thoughts, but I also, like the trails through the woods, like, are pretty nice, and I guess I just wonder, I'm not aware of anything that the city has specifically that was in the Parks Master Plan, but Adam, I don't know if you're aware of any like recommended setbacks or anything like that, space requirements for something like a disc golf set that could use some of that open meadowy space.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So just, you know, there is a third party involved with this, because there is a conservation easement with this park.
Okay.
So, and that
Right.
does, and it is more of on the nature side, right? So it is protected on that. So we would need to invite them in the conversation as well at some point, you know, as we begin to do the next phase. Or, you know, when you start putting those asphalt or trails or adapting some of that, you would need to bring them in and get acceptance from that conservation easement as well. So, yeah.
Great, thanks for bringing that up.
So I agree about the ball field. There's an the Tablin Park field isn't used a lot. we have a lot of neighborhood ball fields that are close to this one. If we were to keep it, would it be cost prohibitive to move it more to the northwest and then swing the playground around to the south more? Or is that too much cost, to solve the problem of the balls going too far?
That's definitely something I could bring up to them, is to provide a different transition of the ball field and playground set in a different design, in different areas.
So we're not locked into that area is what I'm saying?
Yeah, right,
With the
right.
terrain, okay.
I
And,
mean, the train, if you drove by and you looked at the train, it does like proceed from the road up to the ball field if you're down by the pond on the far west side there, east side. So, I mean, there's definitely going to have to be some excavation to be done in order to make it a flat surface for a ball field or a soccer field. Where the ball field is now is probably your flattest area, because you do walk up to it, but, if you were to move that over towards the playground, it does proceed, have a greater slope, that you'd have to have some excavation done in that area.
and then if we were to eliminate the ball field currently, could those fields be graded for soccer, but not big organized games? Maybe the smaller, younger grade school kids for practice, like they do up at Oakland Junior High now, Oakland Middle School now. Something
Or it could be,
low-key.
and it would be no different than what we do at Pilot Park, right? So we offer 2 nets, it's not lined.
Yeah.
Kids, parents, families come there, they utilize it, neighborhood kids use it. And I know this dynamic shows 3 line courts, to be honest with you, Public Works isn't gonna be out there lining the fields.
A question about as far as what Bolton Mike did for looking at putting amenities in. I know that the master plan does, I think you had kind of mentioned this, master plan does call for either a skate park there or at Tabland, as well as disc golf, either at Ridge or another location. Do you know if they looked into either of those?
Yeah, both those were brought up to him prior to the survey,
Okay.
as items to consider in there as well. But yeah, definitely they took the items that were, took the most survey results from the survey.
So those specific amenities were listed in the survey, is what you're saying?
They were not listed in the survey for
Oh.
like an example, but they were provided to the designer, so,
Okay.
prior to the survey. So in our discussion, when I was interviewing with them about what our concept was, I provided them that information that was provided from that Parks Master Plan, which included, yes, the skate park,
Okay.
the disc golf, we had the exercise park as well, just some other options that we had that were floating around, that we wanted to utilize in our parks, just kind of the direction the city council gave us.
Do you know why they didn't include that?
I do not.
Okay.
City Council talked about a water park. I didn't hear anything about that either. Other comments, questions? I knew that would get the crowd going.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm asking a lot of questions, but.
No problem. That's why we're here.
The traffic issue certainly is. I mean, it's an issue to be addressed. That's not what we do. So how does that fit into the puzzle for, I mean, obviously engineering gets involved, the county gets involved, people get involved, but is it, really how appropriate is it for us to be making any decision at all about how parking or traffic goes? I have trouble, I hear the concerns, I recognize the concerns. I also know that you want to have a place to park and get traffic moving, but it doesn't, yeah, how do we balance that?
Yeah, I think you just look at that as the hindsight of it, as like understanding that the cost of that, of putting that in there, is gonna be probably extremely expensive. I mean, so when you look at concept A, as with the future build out of that tie-in would probably, in my eyes, probably would not happen, just because of cost effectiveness, so. Could you do the parking lot without that extension into Ivywood? Yeah, potentially, but I think the purpose of it is for flow, right? To
Okay.
get in, keep cars.
So why would we be deciding between concepts if we know one of them is highly unlikely to be done?
That'd be a suggestion you'd give, is to remove, or move the parking lot to a better location, or to eliminate the access off Inwood, and have them provide you a different example of how you could utilize entrances off of Ivywood.
I guess my thought at this time would be to request Bolton and Mink go back to the drawing board and look at some different options. And maybe rethink some of these a little bit.
Well, that's one of the point of this meeting, is to give that
Yeah.
input, to go back to them and say, okay.
You
Yeah, if you
know,
don't like either concept, I could tell them
Yeah.
that, they don't like either one. Here's what I want them to buy.
No, but we've provided a variety of different concepts and comments that we could meld into something else. Any other comments?
I would just say, I mean, given that feedback too, then based on what they come back with, make sure the parking, whatever that looks like, goes with the plan.
Right.
So, okay, you're not gonna have fields, then you probably don't need that much parking. So just, I'm assuming that's what they would do, but
Right.
anyway.
Go.
Yes. I think it would also be really helpful for us as a commission if they've considered some other amenities, but there's a reason that it's not being presented.
Right.
If we can just like see a little bit of that work, so we're not asking questions that are inappropriate, like help us, help the community, I guess, that would be great information to have.
Just a point of clarification, Chair, are we taking comments on this whole right now, or we're just asking
taking
questions?
comments, there's no motion, there's no nothing. Comments, input, suggestions,
Okay,
go to him.
okay. Well, so I'll make the comment that I don't know how that ballpark fits geographically within the park. I don't have concern with us having another a competitive level, whether if it's for youth, along with this supposed sports complex, which we're a long way from right now. Having, shrinking our recreational fields, which we have 12 of that are very underutilized, but having ones in appropriate places that are competitive level for youth to utilize with the proper amenities that go along with it. I guess amenity for parking isn't really an amenity, but the parking that goes along with it. This, to me, is an appropriate park. It's 23 acres, which is on the large side for a Lake Elmo park by far. It's one of the top 5 for sure. Whether it can get the drainage right and get the balls not going into the yard, that obviously has to be determined, but I think there is room for it in this park. There's room for it and need for it in Lake Elmo. I would like to see some variation on what amenities we're putting in as far as, again, the master plan does call for some alternate amenities, and I think those are worthwhile looking at. That's my comment on this.
Anything else? Okay, for the public that is here, this is very good you're here, very good you're providing input. Because a lot of things we've been involved with, we send out surveys, we do park-by-park discussion at the meeting, and then we go and do something, and we get a room full of people all upset because something was done, all right? Unfortunately, the bad thing about this is it goes on and on and on, okay? So you guys need to be alert and see when there are meetings, see when there are surveys. The weekly Lake Elmo email that goes out is very good at doing those kind of things, but it goes on and on and on. As you can see, this is just the start, and we had a lot of different inputs. And I agree, it's an important park because also of that area where it's situated at, as was pointed out earlier, there's a potential for growth. And so it can become a very important park, but there are concerns. So my email is in the page. If you want to write something, you can write it to me. Of course, I don't do anything with it. I just give it to Adam. But it's input that will go in, and some of it will be looked at, and maybe it's feasible and not, or whatever. But it's very good that this group is here. Okay.
Adam, this question's for you, because you kind of brought it up. We understood that when we moved in here in the late 90s, that whole
not like a definite line of like, yep, you can build in this area or not. It's just kind of an agreement with that land trust and that conservation easement to, about things that are placed there and how it's used.
Thank you.
Yeah, we keep them posted and they provide their feedback too. It's a way that they do that. Now, I'm sure if we put in something that was too crazy in there, too anti-nature, there would be a lot of feedback, but that's how it works. Okay, one more, I'm back here. Yeah.
I just heard somebody mention that we have 23 acres in our park. Can you tell me how many of those 23 acres are plausible for this space? Because we have 23 acres, but there's a lot of swampland.
Yeah, right, I mean. Yeah, I mean, based off, I mean, you guys know this better than probably a majority of us, but, you know, back in here, it gets wet in here, right? But there's a dry spot in here, so, I mean, you know, but as you go back around, definitely it's seasonal, right? So things do get wet and things like that. So our driest part likely is where the ball field is. You know, the berm that was put in there at that time was to help maybe drain some of that water out of the playground area. But ultimately, you know, your parking lot area, you know, towards that ball field is your higher ground in that area.
How many acres do you think that is what you've got to use?
You know, it's not quite half of it, but it'd be less, it'd be like a third of that, so.
Well, the third is really buildable for the playground, just to put this into perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, the rest of it is park. There's paths through it.
Yeah.
There's walking area. It's a park. There's sandhill cranes. There's, so,
Noisy,
Nice.
noisy, Santa.
park.
All right, I want to wrap this up and thank you again for your attendance. All right, we are off to the Lake Elmo Pickleball Friends donation.
Don't say the word pickleball anymore.
Council said we could.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you. So the Lake Elmo Pickleball Friends has offered to donate several items to the pickleball courts at Pebble Park. Jennifer Waters recently reached out to the city with a suggestion to donate several items that were handmade by members of the pickleball club. These items include 2 wooden benches, paddle rack, a drink rack, and a portable fence to divide the north and south courts. So this should be for the Parks Commission, and should the Parks Commission accept the donations offered by the Lake Elmo Pickleball Friends Club. So just a couple pictures of the portable fence that was in there. I don't have pictures of the benches or the holders, but this is just an example of the items that were included to make the portable fence. So there are no financial obligations to accept the donation. If the commission chooses to accept it, any exclusions should be made for future upkeep and removal of these items. As you read in the packet, this is one of those situations, it's a little tough, right? So we did make the recommendation of not accepting the donation based on the fact that, you know, if they were to make one, the funds were there likely by that nonprofit to incorporate permanent fence, permanent benches, things like that, that we wouldn't have to maintain or upkeep in the future. So we leave that open to the Parks Commission for a recommendation, but that would be staff's recommendation. So.
Okay. Questions for Adam?
I have a question.
I have a, it's not necessarily about the donation, but is there, it gets to pickleball a little bit. Is there a reason moving forward specifically with benches, paddle rack, maybe not the dividers, cause that's a little more expensive, that's just not budgeted as part of when we do pickleball courts?
Yeah, so just to give you a little brief history on those 2 sets of pickleball courts, we didn't have 100% motion by the Parks Commission or the City Council to do either of those projects at the time. We were nearing about almost $500,000 to do the project. So adding that additional fence in there was gonna, at that time, I think it was about $20,000 to $25,000 to do it. Knowing that we likely weren't gonna be able to push what we had, I wasn't looking to add more money to the debt in order to do so. So that was one of the reasons why we didn't put it in there. Is there room for it there? Yes, there is. But it'd be a separate fence, and we were trying to utilize the old fence that we had at the time, so, yeah.
Other questions?
So all of those items have already been put there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
They didn't have prior approval to do that?
correct, so that's why they're asking. Yep. As we talk about pickleball noise in the near future, which will come up in our next session, meeting, you know, one of the things that we do gotta take into consideration is the fencing that does surround that, right? So one of the things is the fence that's currently there likely will not hold the weight of the items that we have to put on there to barricade the noise. So we may be in a situation where we have to replace two sides of that in order to incorporate that. So, you know, at that time, is that a better time to incorporate permanent fencing? Potentially.
So I'd like to speak to it a little bit as a pickleball player.
Okay.
And I was there today looking at the racks. Many pickleball courts have a rack for the paddles used for when people are waiting to rotate in and out to take turns. It helps resolve some issues about saying who was here when. So that's helpful. And there's all sorts of different ones you can get very fancy. Theirs is just a basic one. I took some pictures if you want to look at them. They took it upon themselves, you know, when the pickleball courts were first built and people were asking, why don't we have the dividers? Because that's a safety issue too. And why don't we have the racks and stuff? Well, we had kind of, I think some people on the commission had said, well, maybe the people who use it can donate that, similar to Stillwater, when they had at the Stillwater Pickleball Association. It's dissolved now, but they would collect money from the members and provide things like awnings and benches and bins to keep things in and whatnot. And so the pickleball players did come up with this, you know, they made it, they offered to maintain it. It's nice to have benches inside the court, both at Tablin and at Pebble Park. They're really nice benches on a concrete base, but they're outside of the courts. It would be nice if they were inside. So they just built these simple wooden benches for it, which they'll take care of. I don't really have any issue with them building them, as long as they're safe, and they look sturdy. And when I sat on it, it was fine. And they said they'll take care of it as long as it's not a safety issue, and they're willing to maintain it. I think this is what we had kind of hoped the pickleball players who utilize it a lot would do.
I'm personally not comfortable with the fencing, though. I
Or the
think
fencing that they have.
the fencing that
currently.
Adam just showed us. The green,
Yeah.
yeah, that's completely unsafe to me. I could not support that. I'd have a trouble with that. I think that's I think that's a liability.
Yeah, I wasn't addressing that, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. This year, the Stillwater Parks put up fencing in between, Northland is the really nice park with permanent fencing. But in their other pickleball courts, they took PVC pipe and made a frame that kind of looks like as long as a tennis net, perhaps. And they put some really inexpensive plastic weaving in between, not as thick as this weaving here, and use zip ties. And they've spent a lot of money on the PVC, but it's not real good as it stands. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to provide the balls from going into courts. This one, it was all blown over today, so it looks like it's knocked over easily. It's a nice attempt, but it's not anything long-term, and it could be dangerous, like you say.
So, Adam, staff is not supporting having it donated, but it's not as if we are banning it, right? They can still bring it, even if they don't give it to the city. They can
Yeah.
still bring it.
So our direction to the donors or that club would be, yeah, they could bring it in to utilize, but they'd have to remove it after, they're asked to take it back with them after each use.
Okay.
I feel like there's almost certain amenities that, definitely the benches and, as you were saying, with the pickleball reserving, like, who was next, I think that's definitely helpful and it's good. I see the concern with the temporary net of stopping the balls, and I know that is a problem at Pebble. but would there be a way to accept the bench and certain amenities and then reject the temporary, unsafe fencing? Would that be a possibility?
I believe that you could fashion a motion that would say that, whether, so I assume if, the group is the only people who would have a problem, I'd say, with it. Okay, well, we wanted to give you all this stuff, why are you only taking some of it? But they might not have a problem.
Yeah, my only suggestion would be is like, you may want to reconsider even the bench part of it, the paddle holders, the drink holders. Have your opinion on that. The bench would be maybe another consideration, what not to approve. Whether they're in good condition or not, may want to get something from an actual
Bench company.
bench company. That's why we suggested the aluminum one, something that's, can be put there, be utilized, be moved.
Well, that's one thing that we could do is basically, as you were saying, is make a recommendation not to accept it as a gift now, but with comments.
Yeah.
And the comments might be, hey, this stuff really needs to be permanent. All right? You can still bring it in and out, but if you're going to give it to the city, it should be permanent. So you could phrase a motion like that.
I don't know if we're making comments or asking Adam's questions, so I'm.
Well, yeah, well, we're
where-
just asking questions. That's why you got to
Yeah.
phrase it in the form of a
Well,
question.
I don't know if we're discussing, if we're having discussion before a motion or
As
not.
long as you've got to put a question mark at the end.
I'm
This is
just-
Jeopardy.
I can.
But
probably-
otherwise,
I could do
I'm going to
that.
need a motion, and then we can discuss the merits of the motion. But if you have any more questions? Hearing no questions,
I have one
there was a question.
So, Adam, as far as regarding the benches, is there a liability issue at all?
Yeah, I think just based on the structure of it, we're not inspecting the benches, right? Because, does our playground inspector go through there? Yes. But what's he looking for at this point? Is it 9-penny nails that were used, or should he have used some, type 10 screws, whatever it may have been? Like, that shouldn't be he shouldn't be having to go through that, you know what I mean? So knowing that it comes from a reputable company that makes benches, that's, warranties them, that's a lot easier to go through than to, eventually go there, find it broken, and just dispose of it. Yes.
Like questions? Now we need a motion.
I've never done this, but I'll motion to accept certain donations such as the paddleball holder and the drink holder and make recommendations to the donators on certain ways to make the amenities more permanent. I don't know if there's a better way to, definitely a better way to phrase that.
So we're not accepting, but not accepting in there someplace. Is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion.
Looking at it, I feel like there's initiative, and I know we could just turn them down completely. I do see the concern with doing this and then it upsetting people, though.
Yeah, I think that the pedal rack has been something that we've heard multiple times in multiple ways, even though it hasn't been called out specifically as something that is likely needed. People that live near here can't get on the courts to play pickleball. It seems very functional, and so I am, I feel much more favorable about that. I think that, the other elements have more pros and cons.
I guess I'll just say I'm in favor of having a legitimate vendor supply park amenities and parts, pretty much across the board. I 100% into people utilizing a donation process to do that, but whether it's park benches or whether it's gazebos or whether it's rack holders, we should be buying from a vendor. We should be aligning it with our design aesthetic. Certainly, we could put money towards benches. We can afford that if it's not a donation. But I'm in favor of having it from a vendor and having it look nice. I think that fence in particular, I think I was very curious as to how that got there, and I just don't think it hasn't held up to do what it's supposed to do, and two, it just doesn't look right for something that we just spent how many hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and have some snow fence in there. So I'm not in favor of having any of those items in there. I don't, again, that the initiative for them to donate, absolutely, and we have an appropriate process for that.
Other comments on the motion?
I feel it's okay to accept the paddle holder for now, in the hopes that people will organize and get one. I don't want it to be offensive to the people who took the time to build it and sand everything, and it looks nice, the bench and that, but I think it would be nice to have, what do I say? I don't want to say store-bought, but a better type of paddle holder and benches. I agree with you about the benches for the future. I think it's fine for this year, the rest of this year, which is short time anyways.
Yeah, not much left. Comments?
I'm still thinking.
Still thinking. Other comments?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, if we accepted the paddle racket, whatever it's called, the holder, as a temporary for now, fine. It's allowing that, acknowledging, I guess, it has very little to zero risk. But, we reserve the right to say it can't be there anymore, as a city, if for some reason it is an issue. But it seems like okay, we'll take this, but the rest of it does not make sense for all these reasons we just talked about.
Yeah, okay, my comment is, in the donation form, the care and maintenance of these other elements, apart from the net, I don't think are covered. Like, are they planning on leaving the paddle rack out there all winter? Is a question that's left open with the donation form, and I feel like an answer to that may inform my opinion, my ability to be supportive of, yeah.
Well, I think that maybe speaks to whether it should be there in the first place, a little bit.
Fair. Very fair.
Okay. Do we want to reread the motion?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have it?
Yep. So there's a motion to accept the paddle rack and drink holders, reject other elements, and give comments to the donors.
Okay, everybody understand it?
I have a question. Does that mean that we're giving comments to the donors, or are you doing?
Staff.
I think Adam can.
You're on
wanted
the
to be
hook,
clear.
Pat.
So, are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Aye. Or no, nay.
Or
Now you gotta
three.
do math. Math?
Aye
think
threw
it's-
me. Wait a minute. Nay is usually.
Nay,
what-
nay.
Nay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was what?
Pass 4-3.
Pass 4-3. Good, thank you. Gosh, great assistant. Okay. How about the bench? Another bench to look at.
So yes, the Graff family has offered to donate $1,650 to be used for a community improvement within Sunfish Lake. Linda Christ recently reached out to the city and, with the interest to donate money for the purchase of a park bench to be placed at Sunfish Lake near the entrance to the bike trail. So, part of the bench would include a plaque. She's looking to have that plaque in memorial of Neil Swenson, who lived the life of kindness, joy, love. This would be written on the plaque, and with the final saying of "Let's Ride." So, I did speak with Linda a little bit about her donation. Neil was an avid user of Sunfish Lake. He loved the trails, and so their request was to put it near the entrance of the trail, right at the entrance of the park where the first trail begins there for the bike ride. So, so that very appropriate, very similar to what we've done in the past. So the next thing would be, should the Parks Commission accept the donation offered by the Graff family? Again, this is a sample of what would be placed there. This is the one that was placed at Tablin Park, so this would be identical to what would be placed at the entrance in Sunfish. Again, as far as the Parks Commission, the city, there is no financial obligation to the donation offered by the family. If the commission chooses to accept the donations, any exclusions, like we have in the past, should be made for future upkeep and removal of the items. So again, on entrance to that bike trail, there is a number of trees there. Should something fall in it, it should be noted whether that would be replaced by the city or if it just be disposed of. Just items like that we continue to do. Those are listed 1 through 8 in your packet as well. But otherwise, pretty straightforward donation.
Questions about the donation of the money for the bench?
Do you have any concerns about that does that location make sense to you as far as where they want it?
It wouldn't be it would be in the woods, so off the side of the trail, just like we have done for the other two
Oh.
in there. So it would, no, we don't have any concerns of where it's going. We definitely, we've looked at the area. The placement for it would be useful. So.
Okay.
And just a quick question for my benefit, that donation amount covers bench, plaque, and concrete?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we don't make any money on any of the donations.
No.
Our purpose is to just, we got it priced to what we have in it for materials. Sometimes the bench does adjust, but it's not much. So.
Other questions? Hearing no other questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to the city council to approve the donation from the Graff family to purchase the bench, placard, and installation materials not to exceed $1,650 and be placed in Sunfish Lake Park.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there discussion on the motion? We've accepted these benches before. I think the park can always use a few more benches. I don't think we're to the point where we don't have too many benches, so I think the bench is a good idea.
Yeah, and I think, it's nice to see family or friends, want to honor their loved ones with something like this.
All right. Well, if there's no other comments on the motion, then we'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And if you're going to be opposed, you got to say nay.
Thank you.
All right. Lions Park, future amenities.
So yes, on September 9th, the Parks Commission held a joint workshop with the city council to discuss upcoming park amenity replacements and improvements. During that session, the city council directed the Parks Commission to explore alternatives to full playground replacements in neighborhood parks, encouraging more inclusion of unique and diverse amenities in their place, and maybe looking at more centrally located playground sets. So just a quick reminder on our capital improvement plan for our Lions Park in 2026. We do have the playground that we're looking to have installed, the surface reconstruction, the pickleball courts that we'll talk about, an additional new park pavilion that we've chose Lions Park for 2026, and then an expansion of the asphalt trail network. So I'll kind of just go through those one by one here. So the issue before the Parks Commission tonight is first, would the Parks Commission like to make any changes to our Lions Park playground recommendation to City Council? So again, we reviewed that, we made that recommendation of $315,000. We picked that playground set, we submitted to them, and they said, let's hold up a little bit, let's have this conversation, right? So do we still want to proceed with what we have, or do we want to go back to the drawing board with that? Second one would be, would the Parks Commission like to proceed with the reconstruction of the courts and ice rink surface, or recommend a different use or amenity in its place there? Mainly that comes with the conversation of our pickleball conversation, right? That distance between homes. Third one would be, would the Parks Commission like to proceed with the construction of a pavilion, parking lot pavement, and the connection to Lions Park? So the trail connection from the parking lot all the way through to the concession stands initially, so. And then, future for 2027 is, would the Parks Commission like to rehab the concession building? So staff is looking kind of a little bit of direction on that, as far as when we talk about the pavilion, talk about the concession stand, you know, two different areas. We had a lot of conversations from the public saying, hey, we need more shade next to the playground for, you know, parents, kids, you know, just because there's the lack of it over there. We have planted some trees, but it could be a number of years before we get the shade needed there in order to provide that. But we really need to talk about the rehab of that concession building coming up, you know, to kind of, for that larger planning of, does this all fit in place as we start putting these items together? Again, that strategic plan discussion, right? So, first item, again, is that council's decision. Would the Parks Commission like to manage or make any changes to that design that we put together based on the comments coming from City Council? Did you guys hear anything or any changes you'd like to make, or do you want staff to continue to proceed with this option? Again, we went with option 4. The cost of that option was $315,000. The commission made a recommendation of $317,000. And again, that came with just kind of the nuanced things that come with the playground installation, drain tile, seed, black dirt, you know, just to tidy things up there at the very end. So. Second one was, again, proceeding with the construction or reconstruction of the pickleball courts and ice rink. What we found is that surface was cracking. We removed nets because it was unsafe and as a trip hazard. We see a lot less players down there now that we have the 2 new facility or new courts at Pebble and Tablin. You still see some people down there occasionally, but not like what it was. But again, it is reduced due to the only being 2 nets there as well. So one of the considerations, you know, again, is that is in the park CIP for 2026. We do have money allotted for that. The deterioration of the surface, that's a huge issue right now. The new pickleball rules, that comes into effect too. You know, these courts are 200 feet away from homes already, so.
There's a recommendation, it's not rules, but
Yep.
anyway.
Yep, correct. Thank you for the correction. Our Parks Master Plan's recommendation of that 600 feet, right? And what is the future of that ice rink? Would we like to keep it there, like to change it? Some of the examples that we have from other communities, this comes from the city of Plymouth. They concreted the whole ice rink, and it is used in the summer for ice rink as well. So it is a skating option at that time versus ice skating is just rollerblading, or I think that's what they call it, rollerblading hockey. So is that a potential option in lieu of that if we're going to remove those pickleball nets? So Again, ours would look more similar to this than your previous image. We would remove that drain in the center of that court, so water would drain out the side of it versus trying to utilize that stormwater drain. What we found with that stormwater drain, it does collect heat, melts the ice faster than we can make the ice. So with this option, it does, we're able to make the ice, but it'll stay there, it'll create quicker, we won't have that soft spot in the middle. So that would be part of the construction plan of that. Third one was the pavilion discussion. Our contractor did come back with some initial designs, so we could put this design, but we've had it at Goose Lake, we have it at Ivywood Park, another one at Pebble Park, so we could continue with this design. Or would we go another direction and make it a little more architectural? You're still providing the shade. These are a lot more expensive, about 4 to 5 times more expensive, because you're looking at architectural design and individual manufacturing of these items. So, something in these ranges are gonna cost, your previous example of what we currently have is at 80 to 90,000. These are gonna stick in your range of probably like 300,000 for something like this. You are looking at a spot in our park that's going to be likely itemized in this general area for that shade structure or that pavilion. So take that into account as well as we proceed with like direction for staff of how we want to do that. The current one that we have would fit in there. It's about 28 by I think the dimensions are around there, 28 by 25. So it would fit in there if we were to go with our original design of what we have for our brown pavilion. So this is the general area where we construct that. Our next one would be discussion of our future of this concession stand. So in our park CIP currently it includes a renovation of the concession stand in 2027. How does our current ideas and selections of what we want to do with the ice rink, what we want to do with the pavilion, what we want to do with the playground, how does it fit with our future updates of this concession stand? So if we, do we combine that pavilion and utilize something with this? Do we remove the concession stand totally and just make a walk-through traffic and maybe some additional parking there? Just looking, just something to think about as well. One of the concepts we did get back, when we were looking at initial construction costs of this, to renovate this to ADA compliance and update that concession stand was going to be about, it was gonna be like about $400,000, closer to $500,000 to redo what we have there.
But now with the bathrooms, right?
With the bathrooms.
With the bathrooms.
With the bathrooms, keeping the bathrooms there, making the ADA accessible for the bathrooms,
Okay.
right? So with something like that, you could be looking at a concept that would look similar to this, shrinking that up, still keeping the space in the middle for potential gathering or a picnic table or something like that, or shelter in those
Right.
general areas, right? But in the main purpose, still continue to keep your concession stand maybe a little more itemized, smaller, direct flow, right? But I know one of the concepts was to continue to have a bottle fill station that was important to the commission. We could include this here or at the other pavilion too, if we have water access at both of those. So with that, again, we're looking for direction on those 4 or 5 items on how we want to proceed with them. So with that, I'll take some questions too.
So this part, you can have questions and statements. So questions or statements about Lions Park?
Those are really great pictures. Thanks for going out and getting some ideas there, Adam. I think that, at least I feel like there's a lot to think about between our meeting with city council, the really cool ideas and concepts of what might be possible here, and also just thinking about the desire to have each park have like something kind of unique and to avoid some duplication. One thing that I've realized since our recommendation went through is that our concept of the play structure, half of it with the climbing towers and stuff, is very, very similar to what Lake Elmo Park Reserve just put in. And so I don't know if that creates some questions about if we, if we have the opportunity to think about that a little bit more strategically. That might be something that I'm thinking would be cool, but a lot to think about. This is my comment.
Yeah, I guess I'd echo that. I think I took a second look after we approved that, and then in going through the master plan, it says developing Lions Park as a Lake Elmo destination community park should be a high priority for the city. That's one of our recommendations that we approved. But it also calls, I didn't recall this, it calls for us the recommendation for developing a long-range plan for that park, which we're kind of doing, but it also feels a little bit piecemeal. Sure. So my question, I guess, that's my comment. My question is, are we too far down the road to backtrack and see, even developing a long-range plan, whether we're utilizing the space properly? I mean, should we have a plan, a long-range plan, rather than try and piecemeal this together? I think piecemeal is a little heavy. It's stating it a little heavily, but.
Yeah, so I think, I'd have to look, but I think in 2016, there was initial, plan of how that all developed out, because initially there was, I think, don't quote me, I think there was 2 tennis courts there. And they changed that over to the ice.
Yeah.
rink.
No, this is in our current master plan
Yeah, so I'd have to look to see if there was a plan in 2016.
Yeah.
When they revamped the baseball field, right?
Okay.
To include, because that's when they did the changes to, the tennis court and all that. They
Okay.
Added the volleyball, right? What
Okay.
type of plan that incorporated?
Sure.
Was there surveys,
Sure.
in future of that, so. That would be, and do you piggyback off that, or do you take information from that, or do you start all over, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm asking, is it too late to tap the brakes a little bit here and back up?
Yeah, you have a lot of items on the CIP in the next, you have Lions Park on the CIP for the next 2 years. A total reconstruct of it.
You can
right?
always
So-
tap the brakes. You spend the money on something, but it would push it out. Okay, that's the thing.
Yeah, but, we're talking about resurfacing courts that we're not even sure should be there at this point.
Right, or whether a rink should be there, or is the concession stand in the right spot? I mean, obviously, the field probably isn't gonna change necessarily, although it could.
It
could.
It could at this
The
point. I
playground
don't
could
know.
change,
See, this is one of the big things out here, is the bugaboo to me, is the big recreational ballpark area. What does that look like? Because for a long time, and I believe Pat brought this up, all cities have this center city park that draws people together. Well, I've heard people talk about that ball field and whatever else goes with that as that kind of thing. So we don't necessarily want to have 2 things like that. And you're absolutely right. I could see the ball field going away, or the nicer ball field going over to the VFW park. There's some options. So I'm in favor too of thinking. The other thing though is there's really 2 parts to this. What got the council starting to throw up the red flags was not the details of Lions Park. The problem was this integrated problem with, oh my gosh, we have how many play sets?
20, or
We have-
27.
We have 12 and
12.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-
And I have in my notes, I don't remember what it was, but one of the councilmen threw out a number to reduce, okay?
Seven.
So that's kind of a side question that needs to be answered. You and I have talked about that, about putting together a list and just deciding which playgrounds stay and which playgrounds go. So that's one issue, okay? Then you have Lions Park, okay? And the way I sit here today, I don't think the pickleball works in there. Skating rink, I'm more interested in, okay? I've got a big question about whether the ballpark goes or stays based upon this other stuff that's going on, because if it goes, there's a lot of options then that are available for that park. And I think there is a need, regardless, for the shelter. You had some good ideas on the shelter. The concession stand, I know there are certain community leaders that are very influential, that are very interested in the refresh, the remodel of the concession stand, to make it more than just a ballpark hot dog place, okay? To make it, again, more of this community thing. So I think that's another big question, but we're talking some bucks there. I'll also throw in the fire station. You know, you're gonna have this big new
Yeah.
brew tap thing right across the street from there. It would be a great thing to potentially leverage into activities at the park, okay? Therefore, there are a lot of questions. And so, to me, I think staff should start to lay out some steps, okay? First might be to go in and figure out which places we're gonna save and which ones we're not. Next step might be to come up with an integrated plan for the park, okay, with those great drawings, okay, with a couple options, and then try to get somebody to figure out if that ball field is staying or going. To me, those are a couple steps that can be done in this, okay? And how that timing works out with the money, we'd have to figure that out, okay? But that, to me, is the approach to take, is to start working on this systematic approach, okay? So we decide, hey, we're gonna keep the Lions Park playset, then we can go through and say, okay, here's the money, here's the thing, okay? But I wanna put a new playset in there and go, oh, gee whiz, we're not gonna put any more investment in there, okay? So I think there's a stepwise process to go through.
Yeah.
Right, and if the ball field would go, it may need to stay for X number of years. You know, so, but to your point, like, it's all gotta be planned out kind of strategically in phases, you know,
Right, yeah.
so that it all works.
If we got rid of the ballpark, would there be a need for the concession stand at that point?
Right.
That's a good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been nice when they do citywide events, you know, like
That's
the
what-
fireworks and that stuff.
The
I
people
mean,
that I'm talking to are looking at it
Yeah.
for, as kind of the remodel, that the Christmas tree lighting, the Fourth of July parade, the 125th anniversary of the city, those types of big events, having them downtown and having a place that is suitable for food, suitable with the bathrooms, that kind of thing, which.
Farmer's market.
Farmer's market could be a location
Oh,
of the
yeah.
farmer's market,
Yeah.
okay?
We did have, a comprehensive plan did call for a civic square, which got abandoned.
Yeah.
And to me, I think, again, I think this is 4 acres we're talking about. It's not a huge space. And I guess as you kind of alluded to, that ballpark's taking up a section of it, a significant part of it. But I guess I would be careful with, it sounds like what we're talking about is developing a long-range plan for that park.
Right.
And more, that's what I'm in favor of.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still think some things need to be done now, specifically the playground set. When, I don't know that both playgrounds are going, both ballparks are going away anyways. Lake Elmo Ball is growing, and other people, I mean, there's Legion Ball, there's other things.
Yeah.
You know, I think the 4 fields over here aren't gonna be the answer to everything. You know, they're not gonna get rid of Reed Park, and not gonna get rid of the VFW field and whatnot. it's really nice to have a great playground structure between the two between the two ball fields, for siblings of the ball players, just for people in town, you know, I think it deserves a safe, brand-new, big playground. I mean, the one there is questionable.
And I
Has
agree,
been for
and I
years.
agree. But part of that is if the council, and I'm remembering more, they were talking out of those 12, half
Yeah, like 6 or 7.
going away.
Well, I'll be on record and saying that that's not what I'm here is to be a proponent of getting rid
Right.
of playgrounds. So that's,
But that's the question that the council came in our discussion with them. Hey, and that's what prompted them, the whole thing here is, oh, we got too much. It's going the wrong direction.
you know, we've got a budget, we've got the numbers in our CIP right now aren't made up. We've got money in there.
Right.
So, I think that's. yeah.
I would
Maybe-
just be cautious if we did the playground and we do a long-range plan and say, oops, that's not where it was supposed to go, or parking gets rearranged. I think you wanna make sure when we do a new playground, which I think one would be suitable there, it just might not be in that location that it is now. It could not, cause some other things may stay or go or get moved around or.
Yeah.
So I think a long-range plan to support where that would strategically go makes sense.
Yeah, I guess something that, just in seeing some of these renderings, that I would be in favor of getting a little bit more information on, if things are possible, is how do we create some mixed-use things? Like, do we need a shade pavilion if the concession stand can be updated to do that in a way that has water available, that's gonna draw people there in a way that we're not, like, we can't imagine that right now, you know, that's gonna be a really high value element. Is there a way to connect the playground, like, if we're talking moving elements, in a way that's closer to downtown and like a little less shoved off in the corner? You know, what would it take to move the ball field? Like, if that is going to be double the cost of anything else, like, I think, at least to me, that's a pretty decisive answer, about the boundaries that we have to work in. But I guess I would really be supportive of seeing some of these options, laid out in a little bit more advanced way so we could make a more informed decision. I also want to, just like voice the comments that I heard previously about the pickleball resurfacing being a huge priority, that they are in a really nice location for people to, you know, go have a social hour after pickleball with the town there. And I think that like, the location of Lions Park is so wonderful. But I do think we have a little bit more breathing room now that we have these other courts, and taking some time to be really thoughtful seems advantageous to me.
Good input. Any other comments?
I'm wondering, if we were looking for additional space, could the volleyball courts be placed in a different park? You know, it would free up more room in Lions Park, and the volleyball courts could go to one of the neighborhood parks.
Pilot Park already has one, which is walking distance.
But they use
Ridge.
this one.
Ridge,
a
I
lot,
just
too.
said Ridge, I could go to Ridge Park.
Yeah, Ridge. So yes, there are some possibilities there. Taking this all in?
Have you
Is there
got,
the ability to make a motion?
have you
I don't
got-
think we need necessarily, what did it say?
Have you gotten the input
At this
you need
time,
from
staff
us?
is not presenting formal recommendations.
So what I'm hearing is, a direction to put in the work plan for 2026 to work on a long-range plan for Lions Park. So we would be eliminating all items. Likely the playground would be removed, likely in 1 to 2 years. So whether we got to that point or not of actually implementing it, I could probably tell you it'd probably be removed before we put a new one there.
So are you saying that if we take a year to make a decision,
That playground could be gone,
okay,
just because of its condition.
Yeah.
It's already
Yeah.
heaving, it's already moving.
It's okay, I'd like to make the right decision.
So,
Thoughts
so
on
like I
that?
said, what I'm hearing is, we put in the work plan for 2026 to make a long-range plan that likely wouldn't be implemented until 2027.
We might not get this, even if they go ahead right now, it might not go with the city council, right? Because they stopped it before. You gotta go back to them, right? That's what's caused all this in the
So,
first
yeah,
place.
I'm looking for, again, just the.
Do we want to change what we've already submitted? That's kind of what we're at.
I mean, I guess to me, just in sequencing of projects and things like this feels like a much higher priority item to work on than, like Ridge Park, figuring out what we're gonna do there. And so I guess I just wonder, is it possible for a recommendation to be like, pause a little bit, do maybe a mid-range plan for Lions Park, but make it one of the higher priority things that we're working on right now, so we can be having this discussion again in February or March. I don't know, and I don't know if that's possible, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, a concept plan from a designer is going to cost money, right? So that'd have to be in the budget for Public Works budget for 2026. Hasn't been approved yet, the budget, but it would still need to be passed by council in order to do so.
My recommendation, this is not a motion, but my recommendation would be that we resubmit the playground for Lions Park and say, okay, we heard your concern about the number of these, and we will be willing to look at that subject. And also, we're looking at a overall master plan for the whole park, but we're 100% sure that the playground is needed there, where it's at right now, and we're still good with that. They can vote it up or they can vote it down.
Sure, we're stuck with the working around it, but that's, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
that's
we're
the only
using elements
downside,
of
that's the only
current
downside,
with the
is you'd have to work around it,
We'd
yeah.
have to work around it.
We'd have to
That's
work
the
around
point.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay to have,
Well, again, they'll give their feedback.
Yeah.
If they might say, oh, no, we need a comprehensive plan, or we need the list of all the playgrounds, which ones you're gonna cut first. Fine, then we'll work on those. But our approach right now is to fix the playground as we have proposed. And two other things is that we're willing to look at the overall number of playground equipment in the city and potentially look at reducing some of those. We don't think Lions Park is the place you do that. And then the other part is we're looking at a comprehensive thing with the concession stand and the courts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is curious, it is, when you say it like that, it's one of those things where, and if they watch this meeting, this would probably be the first that they heard that is more to this, to Lions Park we're looking to put money into. And so,
Right.
that again speaks to the need for developing a long-range plan. If you say, well, we thought the 300,000 for the playground was it. It's like, no, we're talking about concessions, we're talking about,
You couldn't tell, they were focused on.
well, I know, but I think it's just,
No, that's why I think we go back to them with that. We heard what you said, but we think Lions Park still needs to go ahead and keep on this time frame. We don't want to take it out. We don't have 2 years or 3 years of nothing there. So we'll go ahead with that, but we got these other issues on the table.
I mean, along with that, I think that if you talk about other fairly permanent fixtures of that park, the lighting is there.
yeah,
It's been switched over to LEDs, right? Or it hasn't yet. I mean, I guess I have a hard time envisioning all of that infrastructure moving the courts are in really bad shape, and we talked about last year for over several meetings, I think, about, you know, hey, can you do a liner to keep this multi-use, like, you know, moving, like, thinking about what that storm drain is doing, and kind of engineering around that, so I think, like, I do feel like that was a really rich conversation, and I think that, at least am still very happy to see that be a multi-use space with pickleball and skating in the winter, hockey in the winter. And I don't see the lights moving per se. Is that because I haven't been presented a concept? Also, yes, but
Remember, the lights were a problem too, but, all right, anybody else? Input, this is input time. I don't think, since,
thank you, Adam.
since we've already approved this concept, the other ones are just side notes, so I don't think there's anything there necessarily there to approve.
Yeah, no, yeah, the playground's probably the most important at this point, just because you are looking to get on their docket, right?
Right.
Because we've already found out, and especially one this size, you wait till January, February, March, it's not
Right.
getting put in
Right.
26. Yeah.
Right. You okay with that?
I can make a comment about the pavilion. I like those nice expensive ones, but I think the standard one is more practical with picnic tables when you're watching kids on the playground.
Yeah.
When you're watching your kids on the playground and you're in the outfield for watching the other kid at the ball field. I think that's a more practical type of pavilion for.
I mean, there would be other ways to, I mean, I'd like to brainstorm, I mean, there's other ways to do concessions. You could build a pad for a food truck, so baseball could do a food truck. With the new food and beverage across the street, is there a partnership, something that could be done with that? So I don't think it necessarily has to be a concession with a window. I mean, I think there's other ways to look at that and still get the shade, still get the restroom, still get the, bottle filler, all of that. But maybe it's, I just don't know if it's in the right spot.
Yeah, and I think that thinking about the reservations for, like, how is this going to be used? And is this a way to not recoup any substantial cost, but is it a way to make a more fiscally responsible decision? I think is a valid question.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the shelter, and that I think that's, the simple one is better. However, if you start going around to cities around this place, a lot of them have, at least in the city center, ones like the architectural ones you were showing, so, I don't know. But like I said, I really don't have a problem with it. Anything else? Okay. Good discussions. And that's one of the things both with the city council, everybody participated. I looked at the tape and everybody participated. Or I was there and everybody participated.
We get a ribbon for that?
You get a star at the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay,
Everybody
and
wins.
an increase in your pay. Communications update, new website.
Yes, just wanted to kind of walk through, the city's new website and some of the,
Do we get to ooh and ah? Ah.
Yes.
so our park page does have our information on it. It does have a lot of the same information that we had on our previous website, our Adopt a Park program. Normally those applicants come in the spring, they help us out with just cleanup. But it does go through the application for that, how, parks that are available, things like that. Those are submitted to our clerk and they go through those. But also goes on to our commission, and as our commissioner noted before, our chair, his information is in there with email, so that people can contact him along with the rest of you as well, so.
Where is that picture of?
Say that again?
The picture at the top of the page, where is that at?
I've already.
Maryland?
I can't answer that.
Like a
So,
golf
not
course.
here.
Looks like
Not
a
here.
golf
It's golf, it's a golf course, so.
Lake Elmo, no, is it the Lake Elmo golf club?
Connecticut.
I'm not sure if it is or not.
Royal Club?
Can we move
Sorry.
that they would put a Lake Elmo picture there?
Does have a direct link to our donations page as well as our park maintenance request. We added that last year. I think it was a discussion that we started here with our Parks Commission, but added that. I received those emails. We get a lot of inquiries just maybe about the dog park, trashes throughout the park. It's helpful just in creating work orders for staff throughout the week. So our Parks Master Plan is included in there, as well as our park sites. Our park sites is a little bit, interactive a little bit, where it does, you can query them, you can see what kind of amenities are there, kind of the first design of it, like what the picture of the trail mics might be. So kind of a good way to for people to navigate through those. One of the main reasons for this was to really talk about our GIS and our trails applications, though. I know this was one thing that we talked about, and Pat has brought up throughout the years. Just more interactive and trail mapping, and it's not going to be directly wayfinding while on the map, but gives people an idea of our community and where things are at. So even if they did go and park at a park, they would know those accesses and how they could integrate throughout the city. Now, we do need to make some corrections on some of the trails, as we know, if you just take a quick look, some of these trails next to our new water tower aren't directly in there, but those come from our future planning for those designs in there. So, but on the layer side, you can take some of these things out of there. If you just wanted the trails or you just want to know exactly where those parks were, those will highlight up in green, so you have a little bit easier way to navigate to those. You can click on those as well. You can get zoom in and find out what that is, how many acres, things like that, and additional information with that.
Oh, that's cool.
Go back to the trails here just a little bit, but these are identified on the trails as like private and public trails as well. So we do have, those are listed in there, so you can, through color coded. So you just kind of select on the tally or on the legends of what those are, and those you can select and deselect those throughout that. So, but like over here in Eagle Point, this is a private trail that does go back through there. It's just a gravel trail, but it is noted in there, as well as on the county page as well. So that's where a lot of this information is extracted from, as well as our plan. So, trying to think what it is. What a good way for residents to see our community trails. I think is kind of a big aspect of this GIS mapping. This came with a kind of a collaboration or connection when our engineers changed to Bolton and Mink. This was part of that adaptation that they were able to provide us on a number of levels, not only our water, sewer, stormwater, but also on our park side as well. So. Just if you get time, please navigate through it. I think our community will utilize it well, and kind of better way to navigate through the system. So this is changing, as the community goes. It changes when developments present plans or finalize plans with the city. So you'll see areas, especially downtown, where we got new development that those trails aren't in there quite yet. So. With that, I'll turn it over to our next conversation.
It's unofficially clear. Tony, you gonna talk?
It's still awake.
Yeah.
First, my name is Tony Manzera. I live at 5050 Kirkwood in Lake Elmo, and I'm responsible for the Nature Center. I want to give you just a little bit of background. In 2018, our organization was the first adopter of a park in Lake Elmo, and George Johnson at that time decided to take on the idea of clearing out the buckthorn from Sunfish Lake Park. And so he started out with a group of volunteers every month, and after about 4 months, we came up with the idea, Connie came up with the idea actually of having a buckthorn removal festival. And the purpose of this was not only to recruit more volunteers, but also to create community engagement with the idea of taking care of our park. And we had to miss 1 year during COVID, but so this is our 7th year now. It'll be next Saturday. And we'd like to invite you to come and participate. I put on your spaces there some of the examples of what we do. We make little buckthorn identification kits, and we invite parents and grandparents to bring their little ones to learn how to be environmental stewards by finding the buckthorn and tying a ribbon around it so that the bigger people can pull out the buckthorn or cut it down. The Washington County Master Gardeners have engaged with us, and we've learned a lot from them. Just an example, I don't know, but there's actually 2 kinds of buckthorn in the park. There's the one with the black roots called common buckthorn, and the one with the red roots called glossy buckthorn. And there's only a little bit of glossy buckthorn, but they're both bad. We also have signature things that we do to keep people coming back, like we play buckthorn croquet, and we roast hot dogs over buckthorn fire and stuff like that. So anybody that gets to work gets a free picnic lunch. So it's your invitation to come and bring family, friends, team members, whatever. Okay, the second thing is I'd like to go over the status of the program to remove buckthorn from the park. It was begun, as I said, with volunteers every month, and morphed over into a much more organized program where the DNR has been supporting it. So the first phase was paid for out of what they call the Traditional Metro grant out of the Conservation Partners Legacy Program. That was $154,000 to work on 40 acres of park, and I'll show you in the pictures. It was a particular acreage that was described. Once that got going and the DNR liked what we're doing, we got another $453,000 that enabled us to work on another 140 acres, which is essentially the first cut on all of the park that had buckthorn in it. Doesn't count the water, it doesn't count the prairies, but most of the park, probably 85% of what buckthorn was there would have been covered by that on the first cut. Then we realized we had to go back and do some other stuff because, of course, buckthorn doesn't stand still. So we got a $50,000 expedited grant from the DNR CPL program. Where things stand now, phase 1 is finished. Phase 2, the funding will be completely spent by the end of June. And the phase 3, or the expedited grant, will run a little bit longer. I'm going to show you a little bit of what was done. Let's see, down, yeah. Okay, the purple portion is what's being finished on phase 2, where we're going to be removing dead wood and stopping the possibility of having a catastrophic fire in that area. And then we're going to go back and spray brush to get rid of where the buckthorn has come back. The yellow hatched area is the phase 3 grant, where there's still some tree removal going on and things like that. There has been some discussion with the Parks Commission and the Council and Public Works about how intense the work was going to be done. That's all been agreed. We're going to hopefully we'll get a cold winter and be able to bring in heavy equipment. If not, that's going to push things back a little bit more. Coming in the spring, we're going to start doing some prescribed burns. And the idea is that if we can singe the buckthorn before the trees get big enough to have berries, it really slows down the production of seed for the seed bank. And between that and identifying hotspots that can be treated with spray, we hope to have a permanent, as much as permanent can be, maintenance plan. I'll show you a couple of pictures of how things have turned out. This is October 23. You can see the buckthorn is, at that point, is still healthy. This is the same view after it was cleared and burned. This is in May of '25, where you can see where the native plants have come back. There was some seeding and some natural regrowth also. So that's looking pretty good. This is in September of this year. Here's a view from the southwestern corner there looking east. This is in October of '23. This is after it was cleaned. And again, progress is being made. Here's another point looking down at the dry area, which is sometimes wet when it gets on a real rainy season. That was greening up after the April 23rd burn. Plants are coming back. That's geranium, and now it's in bloom. So basically what we're showing here now is from looking west from that viewpoint. There's a tree pointed out that's in the center of the picture there. That was, you can see all the trails are, the side of the trail is just covered with buckthorn. Here's what it looked like after it was cleared. And looking east from here, you can see it was very brushy here. That was cleared also. What this enables, it enables native plants to come back. It enables you to see the deer. It enables the insects that would live on the native plants but can't live on buckthorn to return. So we think we're making pretty good progress. That's after deadwood removal. There were a lot of deadwood piles in Sunfish Lake Park that would have created an immense catastrophe if it had caught fire on a dry year a couple of years ago. But that's been probably 75% cleared, and we still have some more work to finish that, but we're looking forward to being able to do a prescribed burn through those areas without burning down all the woods. Okay, this is a native plant growing now in this May, and it's really, really working out well. So that's what I wanted to show you. I want to show you, we'll talk a little bit about the future. We have so far spent on this program about $661,000, which means that according to the DNR regulations for this kind of funding, we can only get about 325 more, because you can't spend more than $1 million for a particular project. So we're hoping to do two things. We did apply for the 3M Priority 2 money, $1.8 million, which if we do get that, it would start up sometime in the middle of the coming year and would actually run for 5 years. And this would enable us to finish the cleaning and then go into the maintenance to understand what we have to do to maintain the park for a couple of years. So we're hoping to get that. If we don't get that, we also have the opportunity to apply for an expedited grant, which has been raised from $50,000 to $75,000. And we were told by our contract monitor, David Stein at the DNR, that we'd be eligible for that. We can also apply for another Metro grant up to the difference between what we have now and 1 million. So we've been watching that very closely for the opportunities to be able to do that. And who knows what will happen in the future, but if we have a decent winter that's cold enough to operate, and when we get some luck from achieving funding from the DNR, then this is going to be a nice project. And I'm looking forward to 5 years from now having the park beautiful and more or less self-sustaining. Of course, it's going to require work. Like the restored prairie that was put in 2010 has been burned on the city budget, or however they were able to get some grants every 4 years. But that prairie has held up very nicely. There's very few wooded areas still in that prairie. We're hoping we can do the same kind of long-term maintenance on the buckthorn removal, either by Well, it'd probably be a combination of controlled burns and going after the hot spots with herbicide and volunteer cutting. So that's what I want to tell you, and I want to invite you to come out and have some buckthorn roasted hot dogs and enjoy a beautiful Saturday morning, which we're hoping the weather is going to be good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry, I kind of gave a bad introduction there, but yeah, I reached out to Larissa with Stantec and Tony here this last month and just asked if they'd come and give us an update on Sunfish. I mean, a lot of times when we do hear from Tony, he's asking for money, right? So I wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to not only express what's going on there, the future of it, and where they're at in their plans, so that the Parks Commission can answer questions from the community, or even myself, answer questions from the community that come up. So, thank you again. I mean, it's appreciated.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Tony and all your crew for all the things you do for the city. It's amazing, all the programming that you put on for a wide age range. As far as the burning this year, it was so neat to see the terrain. Once all those trees and weeds were out of there, it was just amazing to see it. We walk through there regularly, and it was just amazing how much more you can see with all the buckthorn and the downed trees out of the way. It's
And
really,
that's one of the unique things about that park is the terrain,
yeah.
so.
So, thank you for all the work and the organizing and volunteers that you all do.
Anything else,
Yeah,
commissioners?
so just a
You?
few other communications, just going forward, we talked a little bit about it, but coming up, we'll begin to work on our work plan next month. Well, I'd like to bring that to the commission first. I think, Peter, when you were a chair, we talked about that. We'll make some changes to it and then bring it back again in December for a final approval before we actually submit it to city council. So one thing that's coming up, again, we'll be discussing the pickleball noise, some solutions for that so that we can implement that by the springtime. Our reservation policy, we know we went through that back in June. We'll have to revamp that a little bit and go back through that, so it's something to come back up. And again, about 3 months, at least 2 months ago now, we talked about just reviewing carriage stations. So keep that in the back pocket as well, as that we'll bring that back up just to review as just kind of our parks review.
Is that all in the parks usage plan? Park usage guidance, the rental and the time?
There's a reservation policy for it.
Okay. Okay.
So just kind of a heads up on a few things that are coming forth, porta potties, they'll be removed from our parks, that last week, right around Halloween is when we have those removed. Our pickleball nets come down about the same time, if the warmer weather allows, they'll continue to stay up there, but if it does start to rain and freeze, we like to remove those beforehand. That is all that I have right now.
Commissioners?
Reed Park looks really nice with the parking lot. And the side, Reed Park
Yeah.
looks really
Oh,
nice with the new parking lot
Yeah.
and the crosswalk.
Yeah, so we got, this week, we're looking for the final pavement on that, but we put in some additional trees in there this last week as well. And so I think we should see the grass growing here maybe quite this fall here yet, but hopefully. Yeah, it's coming along great.
Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?